Hi everyone and welcome to the Chrissy B Show. And if you don't know by now, it's the UK's only TV programme that's dedicated to mental health and well-being topics. Now today's episode is all about inspiration. Inspiration comes in many forms, whether it's reading a book, talking to a loved one, or as we'll see later, visiting a museum. Inspiration can hit us from the likeliest and unlikeliest of places. It can spur us on to achieve goals we might otherwise feel are beyond us, and it can significantly improve our mental health as a result. My guests tonight each have their own very inspiring stories to tell. Mirela Sula came to the UK 4 years ago, a single mother and homeless. We'll be hearing how she overcame the odds to become a worldwide speaker, author of 11 books, and owner of 2 successful global businesses. We're also joined by Chris Browne, our resident self-development trainer, and his guest Malakah Zebulun, who once suffered domestic abuse and is now an inspirational speaker. And later on, I'll be showing the 3 things that I draw inspiration from. But first, let's see what inspires you guys at home. Brian says, apparently my professional baseball career has inspired my 7-year-old daughter. What inspires you? H says, sometimes I just see the way people are or what they say and it inspires me to be better. Same here, H. And Melinda says, being a mum is one thing that inspires me. I love my boys. Thank you, Lord, for my humble boys. What's the one thing that inspires you, she's asking. Whereas 404 says, there is so much sadness that it doesn't feel inspirational anymore, which is an interesting thought. And actually, I would say to this person that's posted this, look for the good examples in the world, don't look at the negative things. And finally, inspirational women say, don't feel sad over someone who gave up on you, feel sorry for them because they gave up on someone who would have never given up on them. So some very interesting views there. So don't forget, if you have an inspirational story to share with us, you can get in touch with us via our website, chrissybshow.tv. You can also tweet us at Chrissy B Show, leave a message on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show, or you can also email us on info@chrissybshow.tv. Well, now let's see the inspirational story of Missy Jenkins Smith, who's now wheelchair bound after being involved in a school shooting, and who actually went to speak to her shooter in prison to get some answers.
Please welcome Missy Jenkins Smith.
On December the 1st, 1997, I was only 15 years old. Once I got to school, nothing seemed out of the ordinary whatsoever. And that's when a 14-year-old boy pulled a .22 out of his backpack and started shooting at us. 3 people were killed and 5 people were injured. December the 1st, 97 was before some of the major shootings that happened, such as Columbine and Sandy Hook. Something like this happening at a school, especially Heath High School in Paducah, was something that I could not understand. Paducah was a very safe town. I remember that my parents moved to the county because they wanted to send their kids to a safe county school.
I remember exactly where he was. It was, I would say, maybe like right here.
I was going this direction, and I know that's how I was shot. The bullet actually went through my left shoulder. It hit my lung, it hit my spinal cord, and came out the right side of my back. I had to spend about 5 months in the hospital altogether. On Christmas Eve, December 24th, me and my twin sister turned 16, and we had our birthday in the hospital. One of the things that I learned first was how to put my clothes on, which took 45 minutes the first time. It was not easy at all. In 2007, I went and visited the shooter, Michael, in prison. I wanted him to know how it affected me and my family, and I wanted to get some type of information from him just by his insight and what he went through to make him make this decision. One of the things he had said that, bullying was something that he had to deal with, and it just got to the point where he thought that if he brought a gun to school that people would fear him and respect him. I felt like shootings were becoming common, and I don't want people to become desensitized to what was going on and to think, oh, well, it's just another shooting. The person that did this was only 14 years old. His name was Michael, and he was somebody I considered a friend. He was somebody that I would describe as like a class clown, and I really enjoyed him. Those that didn't made fun of him very badly. Little did we know how much it hurt Michael. So if you're a bully, please make the choice to stop torturing others. And those of you that are being bullied, tell somebody. And if you're a bystander and you see something like this happen, be a witness. Tell someone. I'd forgiven Michael for what he had done to me. And the reason why I forgave Michael is because I knew that being angry and mad was not gonna make things better. It wasn't gonna make me walk again. It wasn't gonna bring the girls back. It wasn't gonna change what happened. And I didn't want my second chance out of life to be angry. I wanted to be happy. Forgiving him was my way to move on, and I was able to let myself off instead of letting Michael off. I still believe that he has to deal with the consequences of his actions. I just kept wanting to set goals for myself because I knew that my future was important. Me and Mandy were the first ones in our family to even go to college. I've had opportunities that I've never thought that I'd ever have. I've traveled so much. I've met so many different people. I have a wonderful husband. I have 2 beautiful boys that are absolute blessings to me. Whenever I got married, I was so concerned about the fact of if I could have children. But then, after having my children, I then was scared on how in the world am I going to be able to take care of them. I still run into challenges, but I have to remind myself that it might be hard at the beginning, but it'll get easier, just like it was whenever I had to learn how to use the wheelchair.
All right, there you go.
I feel like inspired now. I feel like not to be just like a bystander if I do see bullying.
Now I feel like I should get into it and help other people. You're making a big difference.
Thank you. Thank you.
That day I had no control whatsoever what was happening, but I don't want the shooting to continue to have control over me for the rest of my life. I want control of myself.
What a fantastic story and a great example of forgiveness and then going on to actually help others. Well, after the break, we're going to be joined by Chris Browne and Malakah Zebulun to tell her inspirational story. Welcome back to our program, everyone, all about inspiration. So now I have joining me our resident coach, Chris Browne. Hello, Chris.
Hi, Chrissy.
And also we have a very inspirational guest next to him, which is Malakah Zebulun. Hello, Malakah.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm so well.
Can't wait to hear your story, but we're just going to speak to Chris first of all about inspiration in general, because you're a genuinely inspiring guy, aren't you, Chris?
I'm a genuinely inspiring guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll say that. No, inspiration is very important, for myself as well, inspiration is the main thing. Mm-hmm. The word inspiration is in spirit. So when you break that down as well, I've actually got to need that. I get up in the first thing in the morning and I'm thinking about what I've got to do, or, I pray about it first. That's my belief. I pray, I get inspired, and I go with it. Now, on top of that, different people have different things that inspire them, yeah? And I'm going to go back to something. Just this period, we went through the period of the Olympics, and then went through the Paralympics. Yeah. For me, that was inspiring.
It was amazing.
Yeah, when I looked at each individual, what they went through, and before they talked about their challenges before. Now, some people, they see it as, well, I'll just give up there. But they turned it around, isn't it?
Yeah.
They turned it into opportunities. You know, all the blocks are now turned to opportunities, and look what they're doing. Do you know one thing I remembered? You've done it, archery.
Oh, yes, yeah.
You did that time with Monty and that, right? Now, you was doing that with your hands and you got bullseye, all right? Yeah?
I did.
Most of us who would do it, the normal people, we do it and we'll miss or something. And I saw this guy with his foot, right? Poem at the bow on there, striking bullseye. Now, how many people do that? They'll actually give up before they've even started. And we're talking about able-bodied. So that is inspiring, seeing that whatever your situation is, whatever you've been through, there's always a way. You know, somebody lost one leg, they use the right leg. They use the right leg, lost leg, they use their arm. Whatever, there's a way at the end of the day. So you've got to find your inspiration, find out where you're going to find that source from. You know, it's not about, well, I'm going to lay back now. That's it. And, you know, that's my life. No, there are different areas we can actually draw on. And it doesn't have to be someone super fabulous or anything. Sometimes there's inspiration all around us every day in different people we speak to. I mean, to be honest, can't actually wait to hear from Malakah right now. You find inspiration
I can't
there.
But just before we do, since you specialise in the sort of the employment side of things, tell us how important it is to be inspired for your career and your work in general.
It's very important, because when you're inspired about your goals in your job, you're not too concerned about the little bits in between. You're so focused about your goal. You're inspired about where I want to be. That's why it's important to actually set goals. When I'm working with individuals, we do like something like 3 weeks or 7 week step, and they've got a goal at the end to reach. And it's those little steps in between and keeping that focus, this is where I've got to reach, that takes off the nervousness and the other areas about the interviews and things like that, and keeps you focused on it. It's important. It's very important. Career, everything.
The two of you do know each other. Can you tell us how you met?
Yes.
Yes. Well, it's interesting because we was both at the same event, and Malakah went up and she was speaking just before, and I came in just partway through it, and she was very inspiring in her story and what she said, and I thought, you know what, I think I'd appreciate being on here. It should be great. So we got back in touch.
Well, first of all, thank you, Chris, for introducing us to Malakah.
Thank you.
So we're going to hear your story now. You've got a lovely smile, Malakah, I have to say, but you've actually been through a lot in your life, more than most people ever have to deal with. But you have come out on the other side. So can you tell us when it all started to go wrong, when you had the problems?
Yeah, sure. When I step out as a speaker, I always say that I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life. And I have to say that because sometimes my story, I realised the first time I ever shared it, it traumatised an audience. And I thought, I can't leave people like this again. You know, I need to keep on injecting, and I realise how I'm being used as well. You know, people come forward and it's the first time they're telling their story. So for me, my journey started at the age of 8, where I was abused by my mum's then boyfriend. And I actually share my story usually with people who are 18 plus. Yeah, because I like to get deep and honest about abuse. Yeah, because sometimes I think we walk around abuse and people don't understand really what abuse is. So age 8, I was abused by mum's then boyfriend, and at age 9, I was abused by cousin number 1. And then his mum caught him, beat him, and told me to say nothing. To me, it actually wasn't the cousin that was the abuse, it was the fact of the mum shutting me down as well, and no adult coming to my aid. Yeah. So the third abuse happened at age 10. And if I go back to the first one, I actually don't know how long that went on, except for obviously I carried it a long time. You know, it happened many acts, so it could have crossed over on a couple of them that I'm going to share as well. The third abuse was, and I've got to also share, I come from a very large and loving family. People who like to associate abuse with dysfunction. And I don't come from a dysfunctional family. To this day, I do lots of things with my family. I celebrate family. That's
a good point, actually.
It's so important. I literally, to this day, everything I do, they will champion me. And likewise, we could celebrate a 2-year-old's birthday and you'll get every generation out. You know, it's just everyone comes out. I love my family to the max. And then abuse number 3 was a foster child. We come from a fostering family as well. So we like to, back then, It was my grand's foster child. My grand's passed on now. And back then we didn't have the Child Care Act, so you could put a child in the bed with a foster child, which you couldn't do now. Yeah, and that child, which was a girl, was abusing me, and that abuse happened every single time that we stayed over at my grand's house, and that went on for quite a long time.
Yeah. Did you still not speak about it because you tried?
She threatened me.
Okay.
She threatened.
And I suppose the experience that you'd had
I was
before,
traumatised.
like,
on all of it. I had enough. I was
you.
almost like, why is all these things happening to me? By the time I got to age 14, I was abused by cousin number 2, who actually raped me until I was 21. Now, by the age of 16, I was depressed. I was suicidal. I was constantly trying to commit suicide. I had an eating disorder. And kind of with the eating disorder, I kind of got away with it for a while because I was the so-called chef in the family. So I could do the food, and then when it came to dinner time, I'd say, but I've eaten, you know, because you can eat as you're going along. But I hadn't. My mum realised something was wrong by the time when she was cooking, and I realised that I'm not eating my food. So I had an eating disorder. I was also stealing my grand's prescribed medication, and I was taking those as well. So I had an addiction to prescribed medication.
Malakah, sorry, how were you coping with everything?
How?
What was...
Emotion. Do you know, I think today, a lot of people who are abused has several masks to them. So even when you're suffering from depression, even if it isn't just abuse, it's depression. In public, you can put on a persona, you can fit in, and as soon as you're on your own, it's that breakdown mode. It's that isolation, it's the frustration, it's fear. And I think it was on my own, which was the hardest part. It was never in public. And I left home at the age of 16, thinking these adults aren't protecting me, I'll protect myself. And then I went into domestic violent relationships. Went into 2 particular relationships. The first one I went into twice. The first time around 2.5 years, due to get married, and realised I'm pregnant, he's had an affair. But the awful thing about that one, even though I went out with him some years later again, he was my counsellor.
Oh, you're joking.
No.
Oh my goodness.
And then years later, actually I had the baby, and then I'm on my vulnerable stage and I meet someone, and about 3 months into my maternity leave, when I've started to date this person, thinking, really, this person isn't for me. They're in my house eating out all my food. And the person used to come at my house. But as soon as I tried to end the relationship, the violence started. You know, so I could never get out of that relationship, and it took 7.5 years.
Can I just ask you something, Malakah? Because you said you went into these relationships and they ended up, you know, going really badly. Would you say that they had seen a certain vulnerability in you? Had they always kind of been negative from the beginning, or was it something that developed afterwards?
I never believed I had a sense of vulnerability. What I did learn about me through my eldest child, when she got to first meet her dad when she was 7, is she went to that first meeting with 20 questions that she wanted to answer her dad. And I realised that my culture was part of the issues for me. We were all told that you don't ask people their business. So I never did that kind of self-research when I meet someone. And I also never gave my permission to leave something. It became such a quite a massive issue to try and get myself out of something, rather than say, if it's not working, I'm out. You know, it was almost like I needed thinking about how I'm gonna, you know, that escape route, especially when the violence got bigger and bigger and bigger. But there were signs to start with. But it was also that I wasn't used to that violence. And I'll give you an example of violence. Being 5 months pregnant for this person, headsbutts me, knocks me out and kicks me to wake me up. However, I climbed up my professional ladder, working with vulnerable young people and the women. And I was actually working with vulnerability and abuse. And I was doing different things around workshops. The only thing is, I came home to all of this. So I got to the stage after that second abuse and second child, and I came out of that relationship. My eldest child wanted to meet her dad, and I was with him for another 6.5 years. to realise that, discover this man's married. And he's got children.
Yeah.
You know, so by the age of 40, I was exhausted and decided enough is enough. I need to break this negative cycle and I needed to heal. And that's what I did. So all the work that I've done as a professional, I began to do myself.
Okay.
Yeah. And I needed to be still, was the first thing. And I needed to understand what my values were. Because often people go into relationships and they're not actually clear about what's important to them as a person. It doesn't matter about relationships, it could be in your workplace. Everyone has values and your values change every single environment you walk into. So the values I have at work, working with young people, are totally different to the values I have with my children. And I work with young people, like I said, who are vulnerable. They a lot of them may be in care or they've been homeless young people, and some things that I might make allowance for because of their certain situations, I may not make allowance for my own children. And likewise, when I'm working with women, as a trainer, I may I now look back and understand where their values are and how, for them, helping them to identify what it is that's important to you, okay? And then looking at the bigger picture and saying, where's your vision? What do you see you want to become at maybe 3 years, 5 years, 10 years or whatever? And if is a relationship really important to you, should you be building all those other areas up first? Because the person you attract into your life, do they match your values? Because in 3 years' time, when you've got your finances or your career or your family or your social life or your things that are important to you, does that person fit in that 3 years' time with the values that you have?
So important.
Do they fit in 10 years' time? Do they fit in 20 years' time? So sometimes when I'm even working with women, it's to looking at your happiness now as well. You know, and it's not work. We work towards change, but we've got to find that inner happiness now. And it's looking at how you find that now.
And I also just want to go back to something, we've almost out of time actually already, but there was something that you said that I think is very important, that you reached a point where you'd had enough. Now, you actually had a positive enough, if I can call it, because there are people, when they've had enough, they will do something like try to take their own life, in a sense, and actually really make sure that they do it. Or they'll hurt someone else or something. That's how some people express themselves. And you can back me this, Chris. We've spoken to plenty of guests where they'll just do something really negative that will just either end it all or make the situation even worse. But the kind of enough that you had actually took you to a better place and actually was enabled you to actually change things around.
I actually went through that had enough. I've been suicidal. I've woken up in hospital and have been pumped out. I've gone through from the lowest depression and suicidal, trying to jump off of, the most highest points you can think of. But I now understand that God has given me a purpose, and I'm being used to help other people. So when I stand out there and I go to events and I speak at events like where we met, I always make myself available to speak because I'm always approached at the end of it. So there's always someone who always says, I've never told this to someone before.
How does that make you feel?
How? Do you know, the first time that ever made me feel something was when a 70-year-old woman said that to me.
Oh, God.
I was so wowed. But all those years, I broke that cycle at 40, and to me that was a lifetime. This 70-odd-year-old woman came up to me and she says, I've never told anyone this before. Now, I realise I'm being approached by elders to the very young, and I actually do workshops and I do even coffee mornings to support people. So I invite them to come along and meet others, peer support. Because I think it's so important that you reach out and you're able to, I use my story to step out, I speak about it, I'm here, but I'm also encouraging people to begin their self-healing journey.
Definitely. Now, Chris, I can see why you put us in touch with Malakah.
I mean, Chrissy, I'll explain this. When we met, it was an event and we're both speaking there. Malakah went on and spoke. And first of all, everybody was like loud and everything just went boom, like that. And with grit, by what she was saying. And the whole idea was to make inspiration and learning how to actually come out of it as well, aspire from this, you know. It just changed the atmosphere in it. And then later on I was asked to speak after, and it's like, well, what, you know? Okay, you know. But I just thought she was amazing.
But one of the things I did share at that event is wherever you are today, you already thought about it. You already planted that seed and nurtured it, and that's where you are today.
Yeah.
So if you want to change where you are today, you need to change that seed so you can water it.
I actually think that's the perfect line to finish on, Malakah. Thank you so much for sharing your story. You've been amazing.
Thank you.
And Chris, thank you once again for coming on the show and also for bringing on this wonderful guest for us.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, guys, so after the break, we're going to also be hearing another very inspirational story of Mirela Sula, who went from homeless single mother to successful author and businesswoman. Hi, I'm Chrissy B, and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Welcome back to our program, everyone, all about inspiration. So I have another fabulous guest with me right now, and that's Mirela Sula. Hello, Mirela.
Hello, thank you for inviting me.
Lovely to have you on the program, because I know you also have quite a story. So can you tell us first a little bit about your background?
Yeah, everyone has a story. My background, personal background, I come from Albania. I'm saying this from the beginning because when I speak or when I'm talking with people and they ask me, where are you from? Because they realize that my accent is not British. I say, guess. And then they go around and around and they mention all the area, all Europe. And they don't find that I'm from Albania. And they say, you don't look Albanian? I said, how do I look? So yeah, I'm saying from the beginning, I came from Albania 4 years ago to England to study my PhD in psychology. And for 4 years has been a fantastic journey. I'm so much enjoying what I'm doing here, working with women, doing my PhD, writing books, organizing events, and it's a great opportunity. And I think when people say that England gives opportunities to people, it's just to realize and to see that they are out there and to use all the momentum. I think, that's right.
The great things that you're doing today, obviously it didn't fall into your lap because you went through some difficulties, didn't you, Mirela, that you had to fight through to get to where you are today. Can you tell us a bit about that?
It hasn't been easy, absolutely. When I came here, I came as a single mother. My son was only 13 years old. And when I left my country, I was in a very good place with my career. Like, I was teaching at the university and I was working with Positive Psychotherapy Center. I was director there. I was also running a business, very successful business. I was the editor of Psychologist. So it was very difficult to leave behind all this investment that I did for about 10 years in Tirana. But when you feel that inner voice, that you feel that you are waken up and you just, once you feel that momentum, you can't be in peace anymore. And this is what happened to me. So when I left it behind, everyone told me, you'll regret. You can't do that, and you will be nobody. If you go there, you'll be just a number. I said, I want to experience that. And when I came here, I didn't know where to start, where to begin. I didn't know anybody. And
that was so brave.
And it was not easy because savings that I had from Albania, it's translated different in pounds, so I didn't do good calculations, and it was not easy for me to restart my life again from scratch and become who I wanted to be. But I think I managed that because I always believed on past challenges that I had in my life. So my life hasn't been so easy. So I knew that if I have done it once, I can do it again. And if I found a solution once, I can find it again. So difficulties and obstacles don't come to put us down, come to teach us something and to make us feel stronger, and to probably tap into our potential that in a very easygoing way, we can't do that. So I always see all the challenges as a big opportunity for me to grow.
What would you say was your hardest moment or your biggest challenge when you came to the UK, and how did you overcome that?
Look, when I came here at the beginning, I didn't know that I can find my path again, and I was a bit scared, to be honest, because everyone was telling me, you have been an editor in Albania, but here, forget it. My English was not good enough, and I didn't have that confidence. I didn't know the city, and I was struggling to find a job for 1 year. I could not find a job. Wow. 1 full year. I was working as a volunteer. I was doing everything, but also that helped me because I was connecting with people, and that made me understand better the system, to understand the culture, what it means to live in a big city like London.
I just want to highlight what you're saying, Mirela, because this is very important, because there's people saying, I've been looking for a job for so long, but if you can find the opportunities even when things are looking really bad, and there's a lot of people that will get so stressed out, so anxious, which, okay, it's normal to an extent. You are going to get scared because you need to have an income at the end of the day, and it is worrying, but if you can at least keep your mind saying, okay, I'm going to learn something from this, I'm going to put this all in my little rucksack that I've got holding with me, and I'm going to put all these experiences there so I can take those with me later on. And
especially having a child with you and being a student. So, and being limited to work only 20 hours per week. So I remember my mother used to call me very often at that time that I was feeling very worried about my situation, and she said, I told you, you'll regret. You always have a house here. The door for you is always open. You just come. I said, Mom, when I bought a ticket, it was only one way. There is no way I'm coming back until I succeed for what I came here. So it just came in the right momentum, and everything comes for a reason, and everything comes for better. So one day when I saw that it's not coming as I wanted to, but I have experienced all kind of, I have tried everything to make my life here successful and not feel not see myself as a failure. And I remember, okay, everybody is telling me, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. Where is that person that I always used to teach people and to tell people, you can? I have to tell that to myself. I can. That is the reason I'm here. So I can't. Where is that? And I'm also very spiritual, and I practice meditation every day, and I work with myself, and I work to improve every kind of strategy that I use first with myself. And it came as a flashback, and this is how it comes. And I said, yes, if people tell me that your English is not good enough and you can't be an editor, or you can't be a journalist, or you can't apply your profession as a psychotherapist until you finish your PhD because this is different, I said, I can invent something. I can create something. So we have to be co-creative. And the way I see the world is not like we have to be dependent on the situations that we see around us. We have to create the situation. I said, where is that light that I saw when I decided to come here? And I came with a brilliant idea to start with a small magazine. And at the beginning I started with Albanian Woman magazine, and I started to interview Albanian women. And then I met some other women working with other communities, because I was working also part-time as a trainer of domestic violence after a year. Also, I met other women saying, oh, I love the magazine, but such a shame I'm not Albanian and I don't understand Albanian language. I said, why don't create a magazine in English for all communities to come together? So I realized that different communities used to have their local newspapers in their own language, and the job that I was doing is to connect communities together and also to help them to integrate into the new culture. This is what I was doing for myself, and I was just trying to bring something that I wanted to see for myself. And I created the Migrant Woman magazine, and I started to bring women from different communities together to share their stories, to create events. I created the first ever migrant women conference, inspiring migrant women conference with 350 women from 25 nationalities. They came together. So first they shared the stories in the magazine, and then they came to connect with each other, to meet each other in person. And it was an amazing experience.
What was that like for you, seeing that after everything that the difficulties that you've been through, even all your own doubts that you were having about, or the fears that you were having before, and then to see this come together?
It was very funny because everyone was telling me, you can't do this because first your English is not for a magazine, your contacts are not enough, because when you start a magazine, when you work in media, these are crucial, very important. And also the word migrant was a word that everyone was telling me, just move that word, that you will never succeed, you will fail. I said, okay, if I fail, and what? Still, I will see it as a success because I will learn something from that. But what happened after a while, I started to meet amazing British women. They used to see the magazine, to read it, the quality content, said, I love it, but do I meet the criteria to be in it because I'm not a migrant? And I said, okay, now I have to start another one.
So it's all leading different directions, isn't it? That's so cool.
This is a lesson. This is when I share my story, is that you don't need to wait until you be great. You just start, and then you see that you improve on the journey, and you become great while you improve yourself. You can't be great without starting in a certain point. So we have 3 magazines.
The Global Woman, or is this?
This is global.
More
then
in between.
Now we have a Global Woman platform, and we organize also a lot of events. But the most amazing part of this platform is that when I organize business breakfast events in my office every month, it is supposed that I bring together business women that are strong. They come there to share their business ideas. And you know, at the end, we all end up crying. Because we understand that is a crying for good. It's a kind of when you realize that you are not alone, you are not isolated in that process of growing in business or in your career. You see that we all have the same challenge. We'll all face the same challenges,
and that's why it's so important to talk about it, because you see someone really successful, and you kind of think, oh, some people look at them and think to themselves, oh God, how did they get there? I can never get to that stage. I'd love to do something like that, but there's too many obstacles. But you know, every successful person has been through difficulties, and they go through difficulties, but it's the determination that the individual has that matters.
That's very important. It's very important to start with the end in mind. When I start something, all I need is just to see the vision. Where is the destiny? Where is this leading? And I never do calculations, because if you do calculations, you find a lot of reasons not to do it. So everything that I start, I have no reason to start it logically, but I know that I can succeed. The editor, Trevor Clark, for example, of the magazine, always used to say to me, how can you do it? Have you done a plan? He said, no, I haven't done a plan, but I know I'm getting there. Don't worry, trust me, I'm getting there. And at the end,
confidence for you.
That's confidence amazing. Is very important. What I have realized is that in this journey, I've met amazing, wonderful women having a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom, a lot of experience, and they are not aware about that. They don't do what they are meant to do. And this is crucial, having that confidence to step up, to show off, and to tell the value that you have, and to believe on that, because first you have to believe it yourself, otherwise how other people can believe on you.
It's funny, because sometimes actually people don't realize the potential that they have, and it does take someone else sometimes to kind of coax it out of them and just tell them, because sometimes maybe all their life they've heard you're nothing, you won't make it. Maybe they've been through abuse as well, like our previous guest, and it's really hard to believe in yourself when you have been through those things. But if you're around inspirational people, you're around positive people that can see that potential in you, they can help you draw that out. So it doesn't matter your past, what you've been through, you can be successful. It's just a case of believing that first of all, and then being around positive people like yourself, like the other people that you've mentioned, that can actually help you to to come out of yourself and reach that dream, which is amazing.
I was very impressed from the story that I heard before
Malakah,
in the first Malakah in the first session. It was amazing, very inspiring story. I've been working for more than 2 years with a project to empower women that have been facing domestic violence. I have been running 4 workshops per week with many groups. It was a 6 weeks program to teach women 6 stages of domestic violence and how can they define it. And that's very important. When we face challenges like that, and probably sometimes we don't realize that because we don't know what we don't know, and when we wake up and realize that, oh, that's abuse, and we define it as an abuse, or we define it as a problem that in fact is in our hand to solve that. Because we are responsible, we have to take the responsibility to solve out all the problems and issues that we have in our life. And it's very important to be surrounded with people that value us and respect us, and don't criticize, don't put us down, because there is an expression, we are the average of 5 people that we spend the most time of. So it's very important to know with whom we are spending most of the time. And also my topic all the time is to talk about mind, and it's very interesting that when we are using a lot of stories, for example, it's very important to see what is the thought that we are putting into the mind. What is the diet of our mind? How we are using that knowledge that we have, that wisdom that we have. And I've seen a lot of people facing a lot of difficulties because probably they are going through a challenge, like a depression time, that for example they lose their job, they lose something, they lose financially, and they just go to a very bad place. But it's very important, the most important thing is to keep your mind strong, to be very careful how we use all the that mental product, I call it, and to go through.
And is that stuff that you've covered in your book here, like don't let your mind go? Yeah, brilliant. It's been amazing speaking to you, Mirela. Thank you so much. I'm sure we could have spoken a lot more, but unfortunately we've run out of time.
Thank you for inviting me.
And it's wonderful to have spoken to you, and I'm sure you've inspired many guests today.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, guys, so don't go away, because after the break we'll be seeing the inspirational wonders of the Natural History Museum, and I'll also be sharing the 3 things that I draw inspiration from. Welcome back to our program today, everyone, and we've been speaking all about inspiration, and of course we've been speaking to some inspirational guests. So if you've missed the beginning of this program, don't worry, you can head over to our YouTube channel in a few days' time and find the show there, and don't forget to subscribe while you are there. So now let's take a look at this video about 2 gentlemen who run the high-pressured kitchen of a busy restaurant, and what they do when things get a bit hot with the customers and when they need to get some inspiration themselves.
My name is Julio. I work at Julio's Cafe. It's a little neighborhood restaurant that my family has owned and operated for 31 years. We're open 7 days a week. We're serving 3 meals a day. That means you're always busy. My main job is to make sure my team works efficiently and make sure that my clientele leave satisfied, as well as maintain a very happy and satisfied staff. It's kind of a 2-part deal. When the rush starts to happen in clusters and really starts to back up, you start to panic a little bit, but you don't want anyone to see that. Yes. Sorry about that whole deal. Luckily, I have someone like David or my staff that can make a call really quick and usually fix it.
You're gonna need another one for the rice? You meet a lot of customers and a lot of different personalities. A couple of times the clients has been telling me, or my coworkers, can you even understand American?
A big mistake would be a restroom not working, a customer being completely furious about the way food came out, or I have to personally put the fire out if it's even extinguishable. I know that this is a family spot and that if it's going to stay in the family, that it kind of rests on my shoulders. I can't just go to my boss and say, you know, forget you, I'm out of here. That's not going to happen. I'm going down with the ship.
Once a week, just get to free yourself. Get in the car and go somewhere because you feel the necessity.
Going outside is a change of pace from being around a lot of people.
Every time that you go out, they're always different. Either you see a rabbit or a deer or an elephant. Who knows? There's gonna be an adventure out there.
Once you get out, you're just halfway there. The trick is just to get out of the city.
Look at those vultures.
There's a little hike that goes to the top and we're gonna go up. There's a nice view up there. Pretty cool, isn't it?
Kidding me? Look at this. This is good.
We're going to the top of this one if we can. Woo!
Oh man, it felt so good. This is refreshing.
Yeah, it's nice to come out, reconnect with yourself and get a different perspective. Just go back into your environment with a different point of view.
Oh my God, look. The next week we're gonna go over there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Well, thank you very much to the Mental Health Channel for that video. And if you want to know more about them, you can visit our contributors section on our website, chrissybshow.tv. Now, there are so many places that will inspire you, but more often than not, it's the world around you that will provide you with the inspiration you need. And in Albert Einstein's own words, look deep into nature and then you will understand everything better. So with this in mind, let's take a look at our visit to the Natural History Museum, a source of inspiration for millions of visitors each year.
I think it's important to go to museums because it's basically a kind of like a movie that shows how people have evolved and how different things have evolved and how things have gone on in our society.
It's very educational in a very interesting, self-paced way. You go at your own pace, you learn what you're interested in learning.
We have to learn about the present and the future.
Yes, I think it is inspiring because as an art student, there are a lot of things you need to get done, and sometimes you might not know how to get it done. So coming to museums kind of just like give you like a flash of inspiration at any point you need. So I do think it's inspiring and important.
We can see many things who can interest us. If somebody is very interested by gems or by birds or anything else, he could have some more information of that. And that's why it's very interesting to be here.
All of the things that people have been interested in and collected over the centuries, it's inspiring.
to get inspiration, I think, yes, go to museum could be a good idea, but also read some books or see some television programs or movies about a topic.
Actually, I'm going to the nature, to the woods, to the sea.
I listen to music, I go on YouTube, I just look up some random things, anything that just kind of pops up and makes you feel inspired, I guess.
I like to go to museums, and then I like to read about the adventurers or the collectors or even the artists who have amassed things for us to see and have been willing to share them with the public.
Well, according to research undertaken by the Department for Culture, Media and Sport, they say museums increase self-esteem and a higher sense of self-worth. This is valuable for all, but especially important for those who are disadvantaged or disempowered. Vulnerable teenagers facing challenges because of pregnancy, learning difficulties, family disruption, or even loss of home, family and culture found involvement with a museum encouraged a degree of inner resilience. So if museums can provide inner strength, then they are an invaluable resource for those who struggle mentally, and more often than not, they're completely free. So the same goes, of course, with visiting the seaside, maybe national parks, galleries and libraries. They're all peaceful, inspiring places that are open to everyone. So whether that's through culture or nature, there's so much out there to find inspiration and happiness from. So make sure that you get out there and discover all these lovely things. So we have a few minutes left just for me to talk about the things that I get inspired from. So let's go to the first one, which, as you probably know by now if you're a regular viewer, is definitely nature. Now, I believe God created everything. When I see things the way they're intricately made and so much beauty and everything makes sense, for me, that really inspires me. And, if you're going through any problems and things like that, when you just look at nature and you see that there is a bigger picture to everything, and that can put your own life and problems into perspective and actually inspire you to do something about what you're going through. The second thing that inspires me are people. So I always look for the good in people, and there's so many things that you can draw inspiration from, and it doesn't have to be like a massive thing that the person has acquired or achieved in their life. Sometimes it's the small things about a person that inspire me. So it could be their personality, the way they care for other people, the way they maybe are resilient for things, anything that, for me, it could be a small thing, but it can be really, really inspiring, because I think sometimes it's the small things that count more. And something else that I draw inspiration from is myself. Now, before you guys think I'm being really arrogant, I don't mean I think I'm great or anything like that, but I draw inspiration, for example, by being alone sometimes and just thinking. And by thinking, I get inspired to do certain things. I get new ideas, or if I'm going through a tough time, I especially remember other tough times that I've been through and how I got through it before, and that actually inspires me to move forward. So I don't look at my past in a negative way. I look to it as to draw strength from, to know that, okay, I got through it before, I'm going to get through it now as well, and I'm going to overcome everything. All right, guys, so we have reached the end of today's program, but if you at home have an inspiring story that you would like to share on this program, don't forget to get in touch via our website, which is chrissybshow.tv. You can also tweet us at Chrissy B Show or leave a message on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show, and you can also email us on info@chrissybshow.tv. And last but not least, if you want to know how I overcame depression and panic attacks and all the other problems that I used to have, you can head over to my personal website, which is mylifeafterdepression.com. Until next time, bye-bye for now.
It's been wonderful. It's been a wonderful opportunity to just embrace, and Chrissy B is so embracing. So it just makes you flow, and I just can't believe the time's gone so quickly. I could have sat there with her for hours, really. So just say thank you, Chrissy, for the opportunity to share my story, and hopefully it's going to be of benefit and worth to your viewers. Thank you.
It was an amazing experience. I felt so comfortable, and it looked like I know Chrissy for a long time, because the way she was asking me and approaching me made me feel so comfortable and relaxed to share my story and my journey for 4 years in this country. I loved it. It's a fantastic experience. I love this program, especially because I love the topic and everything around it. So it's amazing, top class. Thank you very much for inviting me.